Hey, everybody. Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day, babe. I am happy.
Yes, me too.
Yeah, it's a beautiful day. Valentine's Day is something very special, but I think that I want to dive right into it.
Okay, yeah, go for it.
I really do because, oh my God, intentionality. It seemed like it's very high on Valentine's Day,
Yeah,
but I wonder if the other 364 days does it go unchecked those days?
yeah.
And hi, my name is Billy Island.
And I'm Helena Island.
And we are the islands, and we call this marriage moments because we believe that every moment matters. And so, in that theme, we want to go and highlight how many times in relationships, whether you're engaged or you're dating or even married,
Yeah,
how it seems like Valentine's Day just really is big. It's a
yeah,
highlight,
yeah,
but then throughout the year, sometimes the date life is a little off, the
yeah,
presents are a little off, the
yeah.
gifts, the time spent. So, what can we do in order to be intentional about being a loving spouse through and through 365 days a year?
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head with just that one word, intentional. Because when a person is intentional, the gift or whatever is being done can be big or small. It doesn't You don't have to have huge grand gestures whenever you're intentional throughout the year. So I think that Valentine's Day and anniversaries and Christmases and all of that get so much hype and there's so much pressure to perform because sometimes we're not as intentional with our spouses as we should be. And the thing is we can work on that though.
Yeah, we have a saying that every day is like Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
We say that, and I say that with sincerity, being authentic.
yeah,
I don't think that we're saying it just to be saying it or it sounds good. We're very consistent with our date life,
yep.
gifts. That's one of my acts.
Like your literal love language.
Yeah, yeah. One of my love languages, acts of service. But I think number one is gifts.
Is gifts. I would agree. Your love language is gifts. And for a long time, I wasn't as intentional with your gifts because gifts is that's not necessarily my love language. Now, I love gifts, don't get me wrong, but it's not my primary love language,
Yours is time.
It really is. It really is. And I don't care what we're doing, as long as we're together or surrounded by our family,
Yeah.
things like that. So I've had to step up my gift giving game when it comes to you because,
She outdid herself today, y'all. Woo, I'm talking about your girl. She went in.
okay.
Valentine's Day 2024.
So
Love
I,
it.
I intentionally did that on Valentine's Day because I wanted you to feel special. Not that you don't feel special any other time of the year, but why not? Why not Valentine's Day? Like you said, we're intentional about our date life. We're intentional about how we speak to each other. I think you've become more intentional about that as the years have gone by. I think I prioritized it early on in marriage, and you've gotten on board with that
Well, you
as
said
years
some.
gone by.
Well, sorry about that. I don't mean to interrupt you because when you start talking about me prioritizing it, I remember you said something to me. And fellas, ladies, if you're dating someone, you really want to make sure that you realize that your spouse is going to say something that really trigger and
Yeah,
catapult you if you allow them to have access to your heart and speak it into your life. And Helena said something that really got into my mind, into my heart in a good way. She said, I just don't want you to live with regrets later on.
yeah,
And when she said that, I was like, wow, I definitely don't want to do that.
yeah,
But when you said that, it meant the world to me because you were bold enough, courageous enough to say that. And that made me look at myself like, what am I doing that will cause me to regret later on? And that was something I believe, I'm not for sure.
yeah.
You can speak on it better. but I think it was intentional what you did, and it called because I think you know me well enough
Yeah.
that I would ponder on that, think about that, consider that, and make adjustments around that.
Yeah. Well, I did. And I was intentional about it because we are always, you're really big on, and I've become this way, the next thing.
Yeah.
You know, we're here, we did this, what's next? And as you were moving on to a what next moment, it kind of made me take a step back and say, well, gosh, are you even enjoying this moment?
Yes.
You know, and so I intentionally brought up, hey, I just don't want you to live with regrets because so many moments are passing us, you know, and are you really in them and are you really enjoying them, you know? And I just kind of wanted to help you in that way, you know, like, as you've
You
helped
did.
me in so many ways, with intentional living. You know, you intentionally plan, you intentionally, that's not to say you're not spontaneous, but you intentionally plan like our vacations, our times, you know, and we get the most out of it because you planned.
Yeah, one of the things that we have made a habit of doing is, I'd say, like the last quarter of a year, we like to plan out, at least mentally. We may not put ink on paper yet
Yeah.
or put it on the calendar, but we mentally process where we're going to go
Yeah.
for our vacations, the
Yeah.
time.
Yep.
So, like, now we have all of our vacations squared away,
Yeah.
and we know when we're going to go. Uh, Almost we're gonna know we know where we're gonna go, like most of them, that is. And the thing is because yes, I love spontaneity, but I know that a relationship does not get healthy
Yeah.
if you don't have intentionality.
So true. So true.
So if you're gonna be intentional about your love life, what would be one of the things that you would prioritize in being intentional? Like if you said, well, I want to be intentional about my love life, about my marriage, about my boo thing, my spouse, my fiance, what would you say would be a great thing to prioritize and put on the top of the list of things to do in order to be things to do, something to be intentional about?
I think it starts internally,
Okay.
you know, being intentional about the fact that you don't mind being second to your person, you know, intentionally making moves to be able to put them at top priority in your life.
And I want to pause right there because if I'm trying to make you first and you're
Yeah.
trying to make me first, but it doesn't work if I'm trying to be first
Yeah.
and she's trying to make me first too.
Yeah.
Well, you just got a Billy-centered marriage.
Yes.
But
Yep.
if we're trying to exalt one another,
Yeah.
oh man, we're trying to outdo one another.
Yeah.
That becomes amazing. So thank you for that.
Yeah,
That's a good start.
I do. I think it's important because so many times, because marriage is a selfless act. Like it's supposed to be selfless, you
Yeah.
know. And but so many times selfishness can creep into a marriage because we're humans.
Yeah.
And we come automatically with a dose of selfishness, you know,
Yeah.
and marriage puts the big light on that.
Oh
you
my
know,
gosh.
so I feel like if you're intentional about saying, hey, I want to prioritize my spouse, well, what does that even look like? That looks like getting to know your spouse for who they are, not who you want them to be or who you wish they were, but who they exactly are
And that seems like that can be challenging because we
for
come
this
with
season.
biases.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may have a cognitive bias or a confirmation bias where you're trying to confirm what you think they are
Yep.
in your mind, or you have a cognitive bias based on your past experiences of who they were
Yes.
a year ago. And if we're growing, we're believers, we're followers of Christ. So if you're growing, you will have a different spouse every so often because this person is intentional about changing.
Yes.
We were
absolutely.
having a conversation about that earlier today. You were giving me kudos about changing. And, of course, obviously, I have to give back and say, wow, you know what? We have evolved. You've evolved.
Yeah.
You're not the person you were. And so I would say, if you're talking about being intentional, I'm in the world of communication. I would say communicating.
Yep. So prioritize your person, get to know them for who they are, not necessarily who you wish they were or wanted them to be or thought they were, but who they actually are. Um, Giving them grace for the season they're in, right?
Oh,
And
that's
then
good. Grace for the season they're in.
so that's first, and then second is being intentional about improving in communication.
Yes.
Because no matter how great you think you communicate, you probably don't communicate as good as you think you do. And the way you can gauge that is if the people that you're around actually know what you're talking about and
Yeah,
actually know
that's
what
good.
direction you're trying to move in. Because you can understand what you're saying and you think it makes sense, but if no one around you understands and it doesn't make sense to them, then sorry to say, you're just not communicating as good as you think you are.
And
So
then
I
you're-
think being intentional about that is super important.
And then you're thinking that you're communicating. I mean, there's so many times I thought I was being clear and I thought people knew what I was saying,
Yeah.
but they didn't know what I was saying because I just didn't bring it outside of my head and my heart to explain to everyone where I was at and what was going on inside of me and what I wanted out of them. And so as a spouse, I believe that
Yeah.
leadership is applied, in marriage and
Yep.
companies and churches and communities, but there's no greater place that leadership is applied than to your own self.
Absolutely.
Being
Oh my gosh.
self-aware, being
Yeah.
emotionally intelligent, being in a space where you know you and you know that you could have done better. And the more you're aware of yourself, the more you can be intentional about communicating to your spouse. You're aware that you didn't say that as well as you could have. You didn't say that as clear. You didn't reiterate that so
Yeah.
she or he could understand. And so I think communication would be on the top of my list. Yours would be giving grace for a season and
Yeah. Prioritizing your spouse.
prioritizing
And
your
and
spouse.
and another one is kindness.
Oh, yeah.
Being kind, you have to be intentional about being kind to one another.
And that seems simple
It
and
seems
basic.
simple and basic. It does. However, I have come to learn that I'm the meanest to this person who shares my last name. I'm the meanest to the people who know me the best sometimes.
Familiarity.
Yeah, you get so familiar, you get so uncaring. This person agreed to love me for the rest of my life anyway. You get so used to them, you start taking for granted the things that you do willingly for a complete stranger. You would never tell somebody, well, maybe you would, I don't know how you live, but as a general rule of thumb, I don't go around talking crazy to people, And so, but I can feel free to do that with you sometimes. And so I think being intentional about being kind to your spouse is super important.
Wow.
Mostly because I think and it also cultivates, you kind of get more out of this relationship when you're nice.
Yeah, I think that it's creating an environment that's healthy.
Yeah.
When you sow those seeds of kindness,
Yeah.
those words of affirmation,
Absolutely.
those words of encouragement and uplifting, because, when you sow that, you reap that.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
not that it's about you, but you reap it in your marriage.
Yep.
Your marriage becomes a safe space where, people aren't walking around on eggshells and all tense and stressed out because they don't know what you're going to say next. And
Exactly.
so I think kind words to your spouse is definitely overlooked. And that's amazing that you brought that up because, it is easy to get comfortable,
Yeah. Yeah.
because you're going to be you, unfiltered,
Yeah.
with your spouse and being intentional about kind words. If you think it, then say it.
There it is.
Like if you think a kind thing, say that kind
Yes,
thing.
because if you unexpressed kindness is like not being kind too, just like
Absolutely.
gratitude. Unexpressed gratitude is ingratitude. So yeah, how do I know how you feel about me or how you feel about how I look or where I'm at mentally or whatever if you never say it?
Say it. Say it.
And say it as kindly as possible,
Absolutely. And that's what makes it kind.
Yeah.
Is how. It's not what you say, it's how you make people feel.
Yeah. I agree. Oh my gosh,
When you make your spouse feel valued, feel loved,
yeah.
and I
Feel
know
seen, feel heard.
feel seen,
Because
feel
that's
heard.
another thing. You could there's I did it just the other day. I mean, last night you were telling me, Helena, we got this to do, that to do, this to do, and I was yep, okay, Then that was last night. Then this morning you were like, "Are you ready? Because remember we got it." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!" And I had to apologize, literally.
Well, the beauty of our marriage,
No.
you were transparent. You just told me straight up, and I didn't take it the wrong way. She said, I wasn't listening.
Yeah,
I wasn't listening to you.
yeah,
I love that we have that space like that.
Yeah.
That's kind.
yeah,
Because clarity is kindness.
yeah,
There's no need of you acting as if you knew what was going on and then trying to scrounge together. I mean, because then that makes me wonder, okay, now you're getting everything together. If you really hurt me,
yeah.
then
you
why
would
are
be
you doing
ready.
it now? But
yeah,
you didn't play it off. You just told me straight up, I wasn't listening to you.
yeah,
And what can I say? I mean, I know our life. I know you. I know your mind, of what you've exposed to me of your mind. I think I know you pretty well. You know me well, too. And I'm glad that you felt comfortable enough to say, I wasn't listening to you.
I just wasn't listening in that moment.
Yeah. And so kindness is super big. So what else? Okay, communication.
Communication,
You got kindness,
prioritizing your spouse,
prioritizing
kindness,
your spouse.
patience with your
Patience.
person.
Wow.
I think you need to be intentional about that because of seasons in life. Sometimes your spouse goes through physical changes or mental changes, emotional changes,
Yes.
loss of a loved one, financial pressure.
Patience
And everybody
just-
responds differently.
Yeah, and patience just means that, when you're faced with annoyance and, that you're able to not just tolerate, but you're able to still be a person of sincerity.
Yeah.
Like, 'cause some people think
Yeah.
patience has something to just do with waiting.
Yeah.
Well, I can
Oh,
be
wow.
waiting
Yeah.
and be annoyed.
Yep.
I can be waiting and just be frustrated. That's
Yeah.
not patience.
Right.
That's waiting. And that's
Yeah.
why there's waiting and there's patience. There's two
Yeah,
different
that's
words.
so good.
And so patience means that I have my attitude in check in the midst of, some annoying situations, things that just annoy me. And so I think when you say that, that is a boss up move.
Yeah. Yeah.
For you to be able to say, you know what? Even though I don't like this, and it somewhat annoys me,
Yeah.
I'm still going to be kind. I'm going to be loving, and I'm going to care for you. I'm going to hear
Yeah.
you out.
Yeah.
And those
I'm going to take care of you
Yeah,
physically.
I'm going to
you
take care
know.
of you. Yeah.
I'm going to be there. I'm not going to try to push you off on somebody else. I'm going to be there for you. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's so good. So patience is something that reflects the love that you have within.
It does.
It reflects how much you love them. And, when you're, the Bible says love is
Yeah.
patient.
Yeah.
And so that means that, even when we're faced with annoying times, we're able to still be affectionate,
Yeah.
still be caring, still be
Yep.
emotionally engaged.
Yes, still be emotionally present. Yes, engage. That's so important. It reminds me of we just lost a dear friend, Yvonne Champagne, and we went to her funeral the other day, and everyone was talking about how patient her husband Jacob was with her throughout her. She had a chronic illness, and I thought, gosh, that is so beautiful that he was patient enough to care for her in her time of most need. And so I said a little prayer like, man, Lord, I truly want to be by Billy's side no matter what life brings us.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I thought about that when you were talking about patience and being present.
Yeah.
Being present is so important.
Yeah, those seasons change, and you just never know what God has.
Right.
In
Right.
10 years and 5 years. So being
Right.
patient with your spouse, because when you're impatient, eventually you may be impatient, and then by the time you need patience,
There it
the
is.
individuals it
You
kind
have
of like
not
ran
sown
out.
that seed. Right. That seed wasn't sown, so you can't reap that harvest.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it sucks. So being intentional being intentionality in your love life, in your marriage, in your relationship, it won't happen on accident. You don't accidentally have a healthy marriage.
Exactly.
You don't accidentally have a healthy relationship. It is work. You have to put in the work, and if you don't put in the work, you can't expect to have a healthy marriage. So date nights are very important.
Yes.
You shouldn't miss them. You shouldn't miss a date night. You want to set it up on the calendar.
Yep.
You want to make sure that you spend time with your spouse, because time equals love. Listening, being intentional to listen.
Yep.
Oh my God, I'm a preacher and a teacher. And so I have really had to work hard, very, very hard, at learning to listen. And I know that sounds like, come on, man, you learn to listen. Well, some people just do it oh so well.
Yeah.
And I have to learn to listen. Now, I'm on a journey there. And one of the things that helped me is being intentional, just asking my spouse questions so I can hear her heart. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. I agree. So prioritizing your spouse, communication, being kind, having patience, and listening well are all things that should be prioritized in a marriage. They should be prioritized because, and I'm not saying that there aren't any other things that should be prioritized.
This is not an exhaustive
list.
It's
not by far. And because every marriage is different and every scenario requires different things. But these 5 things are certainly things that you cannot lose with them. And that's on Valentine's Day and the rest of the year, the other 364 days of the year. Those 5 things will get you off to a good start.
Yeah, and I wanted to talk about this because I just really think we highlight a lot of days. Now, I'm not saying all marriages are like this, all relationships. Mm-hmm. I just think that you almost nullify a box of candy and flowers and some fragrance. You nullify that on this day if the next day you're just totally mean and impatient and don't listen. Now, I understand we all have battles in relationships. We all do. Me and Elena, we argue, we disagree, we debate. And I'm not saying that nullifies any gift that we have, but I think just being intentional means that you are creating a system or you're creating a culture in your marriage, something that you do daily, day in and day out. And this system is so real that when negativity comes, that is highlighted.
Exactly. It's like red alert, what's going on? Somebody's not well or something's going on here. Let's look into this further.
It's like a smoke alarm going off. You know that this smoke shouldn't be in the room.
Yes.
So now it goes off because we don't do this.
Exactly.
It shouldn't be highlighted that we got a gift because we do this.
Yeah.
But what we don't do is treat each other like this.
Exactly.
We don't hold on to things. You don't go in there and just don't talk and shut down. No, we talk about our conflict.
Absolutely, we do.
Walk out our worries and our issues that's going on in our life. We talk it out. And so I think it's so important that Valentine's Day be honored. Every spouse should be loved every day as well. And we should create a culture and an atmosphere that causes people to wonder, man, what is going on? She's silent. She's not listening. She's shut down. He's being impatient. What's going on?
Yeah.
Because if we create a culture that we're loving in such a way that when something is going on that's negative, that's highlighted.
Yeah.
I think we highlight the good stuff when that should be going on all the time.
That should be the norm.
The norm.
That should be the norm. And so much so that when something is not the good and the happy and the joyful, you're able to recognize it quickly and deal with it directly.
And what do you guys think? If you guys can comment in the comment section, and obviously we want you to share this content. Rate it, review, subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We want you to be a part of the Marriage Moment community. We love you so much. And this is season 2 of Marriage Moments, and it would mean the world to us if you would share this with other people. But let me know what's on your mind.
Yeah.
What do you think you
should prioritize? What are you intentional about? What are you intentional about in your marriage?
Yeah, what are you intentional about, and what do you think should be prioritized in your marriage intentionally? We thank you so much because we know it means the world to us that you would take our time.
It does.
and that you would hang out with us and you would connect with us, even on this Valentine's Day. And we are going to have a great, great time. We're going to finish up this day, just creating great moments. But we really would love for you to share this content.
Yes. Thank you so much for joining us. Y'all have happy Valentine's.
Marriage moments with the Islands.